Okay, so for this video, we're going to look at Officeworks, and in particular, we're going to look at footers. Now, these footers, you'll see them in a lot of different websites, and I just picked this one because it's very typical. If you go to a lot of other websites, especially shopping or anything to do with retail, anything like that, you're going to find these complex layers of footers actually. So you're going to get, there's some stuff here that could be considered a footer. This is considered a footer. We've got this thing here, and then finally we've got here and here. So there's all these different layers of footers. What we're going to look at is we're going to look at this chunk here. So we're going to look at basically this bit here. And what we're going to do is, to start with, we're going to just create, pardon me, we're going to try and just recreate this list. Now this list is created through an ordered list or an unordered list. The reason I know that, apart from looking at it, is you can use the inspector. So if you press Shift Control I, and you'll get the inspector come up, and I can click on this thing, and it can be quite daunting to use. But basically, say I pick that option there and I click on it, I can go over here and have a look, and I can see that that's an anchor inside a list item inside an unordered list, and that's what we're going to try and reproduce. Now, as it turns out, we're going to do it a little bit differently to the way the authors of this website did it. My plan is basically I want to produce one of these and then copy it 4 times to represent these 4. Then I want to put that all in a Flexbox, and the Flexbox will contain all of that. And then finally, I want to put all of that into another Flexbox. So we're going to have a Flexbox inside a Flexbox. Now, that's not actually how the website was written. I just want to demonstrate a Flexbox inside a Flexbox, amongst other things. So that's what we'll be doing. So the first thing we need to know is we need a list probably of maybe 5 or 6 options. So let's go and start coding. So we're in a blank folder. So if you haven't already opened a directory, then open one. For me, I've already created one. So I'm now going to create a file, index.html. We use our Emmet to load up the basic web page. I might just zoom in a little bit more if I can. Maybe Control Z. That's not a good idea. Okay, and Alt Z, put wrap on, and okay, so we are ready to basically start coding. Now, for this exercise, what we're going to do is we're not going to use an external style sheet. I'm going to put it up here because it's great for demos. I don't want you to do that for your assessment task, but for practice, by all means, put styling up here. All right, so what do we want to do again? So we want to create a list. It's got to have a heading as well, but we'll worry about the list to start with. We'll say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items, and we need to style them. And the way they normally do this is they normally put this in a list, and so we're going to do the same thing. So I'm going to use Emmet. You don't need to use Emmet. You'll see it's like an abbreviated way of entering this stuff. You can just type it out longhand if you want. That's fine. But for what we need, I can say we need an unordered list, and I'm going to give it a class. So I'm going to use some classes so that I can style them up later on. And I'm going to call my class the unordered list style. And inside that unordered list, I want a list item, pardon me, with a style of maybe unordered list item style. And I want 6 of those. And inside of that, so if you come over here, you'll see that there's an underline comes up. And if I was to press click on any one of these, it's actually a link, right? So this is actually an anchor tag. So we need to put inside of the list item, we need to put an anchor tag. So once again, it's a greater than to say something's inside. Anchor tag. And I may as well give that a class as well. So I'll put ULLIA style sheet. This is not a standard or anything. I'm just making it up as we go along to keep nice short class names. You should probably use something more meaningful. And I'm going to put the squiggly brackets, which means I want some text in each one. So we'll just put in test, and that will put test in each entry. And hopefully that will give us what we want. Press enter and have a look. It did not at all give me what I want, so Control Z. What's wrong here? Ah, I didn't put a number in. So I want 6. Okay, let's try again. Still not. Maybe I have to go to the end and press enter. I'm not sure. Press enter. Okay. Yes, I did have to go to the end. Okay, so I didn't know that. So Emmett, you need to be at the end of the line when you press enter or tab. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is press Control Alt and down arrow, and that will hopefully select all these lines. If it doesn't, just hold down the Alt key and just use your mouse to click in the position you want. Just type in a hash which represent unknown link. In other words, we don't know where these links are going yet. We don't know the URLs. We'll come and fill them in later. And so we've got ourselves now, we'll just have a look at what we've got. We've got ourselves a list. It's pretty ugly at the moment, but we've got ourselves a list, and we need to style this up to make it look a little more like this list. So let's get cracking on that. First thing we need to do is get rid of these dots. So that's controlled by the UL itself. So let's style the ULS, Control C, dot, Control V. And the way you do that is it is a list style of none. And you can see straight away the dots disappear, which is good. And now what we want probably is to style this anchor so that it's, well, it's not blue, it's not underlined. Yeah, it just looks a bit better. So the anchor tag was this class here. And that thing is called text decoration. So the underline is called text decoration, none. You can see that disappears. Let's change the font for the whole page. So let's go body. And really for all websites, if I were you, I would be, the first thing I'd be actually typing into my styling would be body margin :0, because we really don't want any margin on the body. We want to be able to control that ourselves. And we also want a font family of sans something or other. Okay, that's looking better. So now we've got this sort of list. It's starting to look a bit better. It's some sort of gray color, so let's give it a color of gray while we're at it. So maybe dark gray. Not dark enough. Dark slate gray. Yeah, that'll do. So clearly the font is not the same. The font size you would have to jiggle with. We're not going to spend time on that. We just want to look at the principles of this. So this is not looking too bad. So now probably what we need is some sort of heading. So we want to put shopping in there, right? So let's just go up here and Control V. So put shopping up here. Not too bad at all, actually. And we might just Alt W. We'll give it a div with a class of ULS heading. So ULS heading, and then we can style it. And the color is blue. Color is blue, dark blue. And it looks bold, so we might bold it as well. Alright, so that'll do. It's obviously, fonts are a bit big and stuff like that, but we won't worry about that too much. Not too bad. So now what we have is we really have one list, right? And we want 1, 2, 3, 4 of them. So at this stage, what I would say is that we can collapse this thing because we don't really need to see these details anymore. We're not going to really change them. I'm not going to bother to type in these. I mean, I could, I could go Control C and I could go, where's my anchor tag here? I could go, I could fill them out, but I couldn't be bothered, to be honest. So for this exercise, I'm more interested in structure than detail. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to collapse this. So that just hides the detail. You can uncollapse it whenever you want, but I'm going to collapse it. I'm just going to highlight it and Control C and Control V and Control V and Control V to create 4 of them basically. So we've got 4 of these suckers. Okay, once we've got these 4, once again, I'm going to collapse them up. There is a command to collapse them all, but I've forgotten what it is. Okay, so now let's go back to here. So now what have we got? We've got, we've really got all of these 4 designed, or we've got these 4 detailed. What we need to do now is put them in a Flexbox so that instead of one after the other, they're one beside each other. And that's what Flexbox does for us. So what we need to do that is a container that they all sit in. So we're going to highlight all of them. And we're going to go Alt W, I'm going to go div, and I'm going to class of, I don't know, list container. Well, that's all we need to do. We can go and style that. And display flex is all you need. And straight away, it knows to put them side by side, which is fantastic. Like I say, we could easily change these details. So we can, we could go about us for the heading, for example. So we could expand this one. This one might be about us. And if we were keen, we'd go and fill out all these. But this is just an exercise to practice on structure. So that's done a great job, and it's a Flexbox, so it will, well, we haven't set the justify yet. So what you need to do is justify content, and then you can experiment with the around, between, all that sort of thing. There's obviously quite a lot of settings in a Flexbox. You can control how it allocates space, but here you can see that it does its best to allocate the space evenly no matter what size the screen. So that's pretty good. Now what I'd be interested in doing is this second bit. Let's have a look at including these 2. Okay, so we want to grab these 2. So what I think we'll do, so normally in real life, obviously these icons are all live, and in fact, if you were to inspect, in fact, let's have a look. What you'll find is, I imagine, is that these are actually going to be part of a list as well. So say, for example, that Facebook thing will be in a list itself, but let's confirm that. Let me get this. So that's the, yeah, you can see there. So that you can see there that that's the container for all of them, and then each entry is its own list item, so you can see how they've done it there. But for us, I think what we'll do is we'll just capture this whole thing as an image, and this one as an image too. Just get them into the page, just sort of dummy it up and make it look semi-respectable. So I'm just going to do a screenshot. And it should pop up. Should pop up. Why is it not popping up? Ah, there it is. Okay. It didn't work terribly. Oh, yep, it's just working very, very slowly. I'm not sure why. Okay, so save. And I'm just going to save it in pictures, and I'm going to call this one socials. I've already saved it, so you can see I've already done it. So I'll just overwrite that. Yep, that's fine. And now let's save the other one as well. I'm going to screenshot again. Save it. Very slow. Not sure what my system's doing here. Okay, we'll try again. Screenshot. that's got it. Okay, oh, there it is. Okay, all right. Save it. And I'll call this one logo. Once again, I've already got it there, so I'll just cancel out of that. That's fine. And we're done. Okay, now what we need to do is go back to Visual Studio Code. Let's go in. Now let's create a folder called images. Okay, and let's go to our File Explorer. Go to Pictures, and let's grab those two that we just did. My screen is very expanded, so it's hard to get to, but so it was logo and socials. So I just grab those ones, drag them straight over to images, they pop in, and now we can use them in our code. All right, so what we can do now is, so we've got this, okay, so we've got this div here, and it's got a whole bunch of things in it, like the list container, all 4 lists. So we might just hide that as well. And we're going to go image, and we're going to go images slash, the first one was socials, I think, and then images slash logo. Okay, so these two come up. So at the moment, what we've got is our Flexbox here. Then we've got these two sitting outside it. So what we need is a container to go around everything. And Alt W, div, class equals, I don't know, footer flex, footer container, something like that. Okay. And then what we can do is we can dot display colon flex, and straight away it puts it beside. So now what we've got is a Flexbox here, and then that Flexbox is inside a greater Flexbox. So we've got a Flexbox inside a Flexbox. Now, obviously we need to do some styling here to grab these two, make them a bit smaller. So we might actually try that. Let's put a class on these images, just so that we can manipulate them. Maybe what's the best way to do this? Okay, maybe setting the height is best. So width is hard to set because the Flexbox interferes with it, because the Flexbox is controlling widths of everything. So I'll set that to 150. Maybe I'll do that for image 2 as well, just for a little bit smaller, and that'll do. Now obviously there's a lot of finessing that you could do to get this better. You can see here that this one's lower, so you probably put some padding at the top, and this one also needs to come down, so you'd probably do something to do the alignment there. But you can see that we've basically gotten a responsive section of a web page, which is this, that still needs some work to come up, and we'd still need to add details like all of these, but the actual structure is here, and the structure we ended up using is a Flexbox, which contains this stuff, and then a greater Flexbox, which contains the original Flexbox plus this stuff here. And remembering, of course, like I say, if you use this inspector, that's not how it was done. What they actually do is they make each one of these lists part of a greater list, and then they add the images into a list item themselves. You can check that out here if you want to have a look. You can sort of track this all down and see how they've done it. But if you dig in enough, you'll find that they are list items. Anyway, I hope that was helpful and that you can reproduce it on your computer. Let me know if you've got any questions.